Hi, I'm Mike Thornton. I'm a senior account executive in retail here at IW Technologies. I've been here for 20 years. Our company, IW Technologies, is celebrating our 50th year in business. And today we're talking with Jim Musco and Justin Lockefeer. Justin, my colleague, will introduce himself, Jim thereafter. And we're going to talk about everything scanning and in-store, on-site, and how everything comes together with partnership with IW Technologies and Zebra Technologies.
Justin Lockefeer. I'm the VP of Sales for IW Technologies. I've been around for 23 years. I just had the anniversary in November. Excited to be part of a company that's transformed over the last 20, 25 years. Today, I lead a sales team of 7 and in charge with another colleague of all the grocery, drugstores, supermarkets, and anything you can imagine. But the company today also dives into markets such as hospitality, general retail, big box stores, fine dining restaurants, casinos, hotels, anything that has an on and off switch in a 4-wall or a retail building, we're going to be able to assist.
Good afternoon, everybody. Mike and Justin, it's good to be with you. Jim Musco, I'm the industry principal for retail in North America. I joined Zebra a couple years ago after a pretty extensive career in the department store business. I was with just about every major department store chain you can think of over the years. Allied Stores, Federated Department Stores, Macy's, and every portion thereof. And I'm super excited to talk about the topics that we have lined up here today. So thanks for having me.
Jim, thanks again for, coming on the podcast with Mike and I. And it's so great to have such an amazing partnership with Zebra, which we've enjoyed for the last, roughly 11 years. And, we wanted to get some of your thoughts on some key topics, but why don't we start off with, what are your thoughts about Zebra's position in the omnichannel and how it can improve retailers today?
We all talk about omnichannel and delivering the best experience possible for customers. We want them to walk in the store and feel like we're welcoming, we know who they are, they're part of retail journey that we want to deliver as a retailer. And I think the core to that, delivering the best omni experience you can, all boils down to one, the technology that you have in place to deliver that, and then inventory visibility is probably a core piece of this conversation. And we can talk about all the things that touch on those topics, but those are really at the core of what I think we want to touch on in this conversation today.
Yeah, I'll jump in there too, Justin. When we look at it from an IW Technologies perspective, when we're talking to end user and retail, is that we're trying to find the best solutions for them. Exploring and understanding the challenges that each of them have, and what their strategies are, what their roadmaps are, in order to come up with a solution. Once we get an understanding of that, that's really, to Jim's point, is where the whole omni-channel presence comes in, from understanding that, these people want to come up with a solution so that when they do walk in the store, their associates are utilizing technologies that provide information in real time that makes their experience effortless from the time they walk in to the time they check out. So, we have the capabilities as a company to do that. When you start off talking about that and coming up with ideas and what they're trying to accomplish, partnering with someone like us that can not only sell them the actual hardware, but do the implementation and the installation and making everything work together, is really kind of the whole deal when we talk about omni-channel within our company and to our end users.
Yeah, I would agree. Where do retailers start to see friction when it comes to omni-channel within their stores?
I could think of a couple of flip things to say, but it really does come back to the inventory availability, right? So that In today's retail environment, for the most part, the customer starts that journey offline, meaning out of the four walls of the store. They either have an application on their mobile device or they're looking at something on the web, and they have something they want. And so they're going to look for that item. They're going to look to see how many are available. They may even proactively put it in a cart, curbside pickup or in-store pickup. When those numbers don't align and that inventory availability starts to become unclear or unstable, immediately that customer journey starts to crumble. It's particularly noticeable and painful for the customer when they go through all those steps I just described, and then they show up in the store and they're ready to consummate that transaction and it's not there. Or the one that was there in the store isn't saleable. So maybe it's damaged, maybe the box is broken, maybe, it was returned and repackaged and hung on the rack for you to purchase. So it's those types of problems that really retailers struggle to make sure they're always on top of, because you can't really lose that customer at that point, right? They become frustrated with you. And no retailer wants that. But that's probably one of the biggest things that retailers bump up against is how to satisfy that demand and make sure you have it in the store.
And I would agree with that. And I'll also add, Zebra has developed such a great technology platform. And, with IW and the partnership with Zebra, I think we feel the friction starts, before a device even hits the floor, right? Potentially in bad staging or inconsistent configurations, missing updates, et cetera. So IW comes into play, and if for us to get the deployment right along with Zebra, we eliminate 8% of those recurring issues. We're able to stage appropriately. We've got great technicians that are working off of 2 shifts every night, every day. And we're seeing that retailers often struggle because they're using these fragmented tool sets, and we together, IW and Zebra, bring a playbook from day one, which creates great success.
I'll jump in there too, Justin. Going back to the solutioning for the customer, is our proximity to Zebra is very short, less than 10-15 miles apart, and we've been able to take customers over to the Zebra Experience Center, right? So they have an idea of what they want to do within their physical locations and how to make the technology work. But, getting them to the experience center over at Zebra and walking them through where every single device that Zebra sells or has in their product portfolio is there to see how it operates, engineers, subject matter experts to talk through various devices or product is a true win for us as a partner. And by doing that, it just opens up a whole box of other things that they may have not thought of or that they need in order to make everything work. So that's really a great advantage before really even getting started. And maybe you would like to speak to that a little bit, Jim, and how you guys use the Experience Center and with a partner like us to really help customers come up with what they're looking to accomplish.
Sure. One thing I want to hit on something you just said. We love our partnership with you guys for certain. You bring exactly what you said. You bring that to the table, and I'll use a couple of examples and touch on our Experience Center. Having lived on the other side of this equation for a number of years, one of the things that's painful to make sure that a store is successful at is implementing new technology. If you send it piecemeal to the store in the hope that eventually the battery, the charger, and the device are going to get together at some point so they can then be turned on and leveraged with the application that you've either developed yourself or you purchased, and you went through a lot of effort to make sure that deployment was going to work, you tested that app, you did all those things. If somebody like you isn't helping that store get all that stuff together all at once, so when they turn the button and the thing pops on, everything works as intended. So there's a lot of value in that that shouldn't be overlooked by a retailer or the technology team that needs to deliver that. You cannot hope that a store that's overwhelmed with 1,000 things they have to do in a day is going to support you in getting all of these disparate items together. So delivering on that promise up front is very important. I wanted to not miss that point.